about 72, 73 years old. And we are involved in the growing, processing, manufacturing, packaging, marketing and exporting of tea, coffee, macadamia and avocado to markets as far as Japan and South Korea in the east, Pakistan and other Asian nations in the Asian continent, the UK, Germany, France, Spain in Europe, some countries in North Africa, and to Canada and the US in North America, depending on what product. So, our business is principally an export business that uses Kenyan produce to feed the world.
And currently, what is the Sasini's largest market in terms of exports?
It depends on which product you're looking at. So, if you're thinking about tea, our biggest market is Pakistan. So 40% of our tea produce goes to Pakistan. If you're thinking about macadamia, 90% of our macadamia kernel nuts goes to the US market. Okay. If you're thinking about coffee, 40% of our coffee goes to the US market as well. Okay. And then with avocado, almost 80% of that goes to Holland, the Netherlands. And so it really depends on which product. But if you look overall in terms of value, the Pakistani market is the biggest market we've got.
Okay. So moving to the second question, what are some of the specific strategic initiatives the company has implemented so far to stay afloat in response to market shifts?
Gosh, that's a very broad question because there's so many things that affect the market. As you know, I mean, if you just look at the last 4 or 5 years, there's so many forces that have come at us. First of all, there was the COVID pandemic. Before that, there were other challenges. After COVID, there have been geopolitical issues to do with the war in Europe, with Russia and Ukraine. And before that is ended, now there's the Middle East issue with Israel and Palestine. All these things, even though they look distant, affect business. As you know, for example, the latest crisis is the movement of goods through the Suez Canal that has been disrupted because of that Israeli-Palestine conflict. And so there's a constant barrage of things we deal with. Over our 70 years, we've become resilient at knowing how to manage these things because being a global business all these years, you have to learn that. But I think what is critical for us is to stay versatile and to stay resilient and to find solutions instead of finding these as excuses not to do things. And so in our DNA is something we call never give up, which means that every problem we face, we have to find solutions. Because if you just look at the problem, then you get stuck with the problem. And so currently, the biggest issue we are facing is logistical movement of goods, especially to Europe, through the Mediterranean channel, which is disrupted. And you have to now go through the Cape of Good Hope. That increases your costs significantly. Some of those costs you can pass on to the client, but sometimes you have to absorb those costs. And those are challenges that we face every year. Now, those are geopolitical or external challenges. There's some challenges that are constant, like weather, for example. Changes from time to time because of things like global warming. This past year, we went through a 6-month period of what was the worst drought we've encountered in 50 years. Because of our business depending on rain, when we have serious droughts like that, it affects productivity. When it affects productivity, it affects your results. And it affects what you can give your customers for return, for money to then continue your business. So there are constant challenges we face. And we have a philosophy of not complaining about them. We just deal with them when they come. So we become very good and very versatile at finding solutions to these problems.
Okay. And you've mentioned that some of these extra costs that came up due to some of the factors you've talked about, it's either meant you pass them to the consumers or you absorb them. So I would like to know, in the past year, what was the play? Did the company pass this cost to the consumers?
I think those are internal challenges and the way we deal with them. I'm just telling you that We have two different ways of dealing with incremental costs, because you're not always able to pass them on to consumers. It depends on the market, depends on the competitive landscape in those markets, and it depends on whether if you pass them to the consumers or your clients in our case can take the extra cost. It also depends on how much leeway we've got with our cost containment measures to absorb some of them. So it's neither one nor the other, it's a combination of both. And that's something we retain as a tool for us to manage those issues. So as long as we're able to manage to survive, so that if you pass everything to the consumer and the consumer doesn't buy it, you're stuck with the goods. Well, what help is that? So you've got to know at what point and how much can you then pass on, because it is a cost that is incremental to your operation, and how much can you absorb. Usually it's a balance, that you have to balance between the two.
Okay, now talk about some of the key performance indicators that drives the company's growth and profitability.
There are a lot of things. One is strategy, and having a very strong strategic direction and sticking to that. And so there are 6 things in our strategic plan that we use to drive our business, and we review that from time to time to ensure we stay relevant and to ensure that those strategic pillars are delivering on what we want. Around those pillars there are 3 main buckets. One is the bucket of driving growth for all our products, seeking new markets, new clients, new growth areas, diversifying with the crops that we work with, so that we keep growing that revenue and profit stream. The other one is the whole aspect of containment of our costs and doing things more efficiently. So using technology to drive innovation so that we can drive down our cost of production, and so allows us to have leeway with our pricing structures and our cost structures to engage better with our clients. And the third bucket is our talent, the people who work for us and with us, and not just for the organization, but in all our value chains, so downstream and upstream, and the way we manage that with regards to managing that resource from the human side of things, because that's critical. You can have the first 2 buckets working well, but if you don't have people who are doing this work the way you want it to be done excellently, you won't succeed. So basically those are the 3 things we focus on. I mean, if you decipher that into tactics, then you go into how exactly do we use those 3 buckets to drive our business. But the growth area is big for us because we are seeking to be better every year. And the innovation with technology area is really for us to give our clients better service at affordable rates, so that they can then keep engaging with us for more business. And we want to do that while growing our people as well, so that the talent that we have in the business, the talent that we have with our farmers downstream in terms of sourcing, and upstream with our clients remains intact.
Okay, thank you. And then what differentiates you from other competitors in the market in terms of value propositions and strategies?
I think that we are very inwardly focused. We are focused on our clients, and that means that we are driven by what our clients want. We are also focused on what we do in terms of the crops that we grow and the produce that we then put on the table for our customers to consider. It's almost irrelevant to us what other players are doing, because that's other people's businesses, and it is important to look at it. But it's not entirely what drives our decisions. Our decisions are driven by what we want as a company in relation to what our clients are seeking from us. And so it's very, very critical for us that the strategies we put in place are strategies that drive our goals, not goals that react to other people's businesses, because then you're losing control of your business to other people's whims, which is not what we want to do. And so the competitive landscape is there to help guide us and help us see the things we shouldn't do or areas we shouldn't get into, learn from other people's mistakes so that we don't make the same mistakes. But principally our operations are driven by our strategic guideline, which is a very internal focus that we have, focus on our clients and our clients alone.
Okay, talk about innovations and technology. Can you elaborate on some of Sasini Plc recent upcoming innovations in tea and coffee products?
Yeah, we have many. I mean, the upcoming ones we can't tell you because we haven't launched them. We can talk about the ones that we've rolled out in the last 5 years. I'll give you a couple of examples. Innovation, especially for efficiency, is one of our key strategic pillars. We don't want to innovate just for the sake of innovating. It must have a result. That result must be seen on the bottom line, because otherwise you're innovating for just the sake of innovating. And so for us, technology is critical in that aspect of innovation. And the reason technology is critical is we must find better ways to do the things that we do. And if those better ways end up being more affordable, the better for us. So you have a double whammy in terms of a positive effect. In our tea business 5 years ago, we were plucking our tea by hand, so manually, which is something we've done since we got into the tea business 70 years back. And we made a call then that hand plucking was not viable. One, because of the efficiency issues around it, but most importantly because of the high cost it comes with. And so we sought ways to mechanize that plucking, and we moved from 100% hand plucking to 100% machine plucking, which has given us tremendous results in terms of efficiency and cost reduction. And so that then means we can produce our tea quicker and better. We can improve our quality at a lower cost. And so that we then transfer that benefit to our customers. And that's why that business has become perpetually profitable, because of those kind of things. In that same business, we used to apply fertilizer using a method called broadcasting, which is the application of fertilizer by hand. And that has been the way tea has worked for years in applying fertilizer. We investigated with a partner to see if we can't apply that same fertilizer using drones. Why? It's cheaper, it's more efficient, and it's more targeted. And so what then happened is we moved to applying fertilizer using drones 2 years ago. And what used to take us 2.5 months to apply fertilizer across all our estates, now taking us 11 days. So you can see the efficiency that we are driving there. And that's the reason we go into technology. We have the most modern macadamia processing plant in East Africa. The reason for that is when we built it, we were lucky enough to have built it recently, and so we use the latest technology. But the reason we use the latest technology is so that we have the best efficiency in producing the macadamia kernels that we want at the costs that are affordable, so that we can transfer that benefit to our clients. The same thing we do with our avocado pack houses. We are constantly looking for better ways to pack this fruit, putting pack houses closer to the estates where we are. We can reduce the transport component, and so we can reduce the cost to the customer. So innovation is a very key driver, and technology a key driver of our business.
So how is the farm adapting to the offerings, its normal way of offering coffee and tea, the different tastes and preferences by consumers? How is the farm adapting, aligning towards this?
The farmer, you mean?
No, the consumers. You'll find some other consumers, they will want their tea maybe in different types of flavors, packaged in some way for the impression. Because at times I can go to the supermarket, then from the look of display, the way that the tea are packaged, coffee, there's that ile mvuto yenye it drives the customer towards preferring to pick this, not this. So how is the farmer adapting towards this, aligning it?
So you must understand what we do. We don't sell finished products to consumers, except in Kenya. Okay. Our business is bulk produce that we sell to processors, blenders, and packers to then put into products and brands that they then sell on. So we just own the production and the initial primary packaging part of the value chain. And so what you're referring to in terms of brand preferences, brand application, consumer interactions with brands on the shelves in the global markets is done by people who buy our products, then blend with other products, and then get into their packaging. But consumers drive everything. So what they want in packaging, what they want in the quality of the intrinsic product in that packaging comes back to us in terms of requests from these people we sell to say we want our tea blacker, we want our tea grainier, we want our tea this way, and we have to then produce it to that effect. Luckily for us, tea is as versatile as it is from the product branding side. From the primary production side, it's very, very stable. And so, the way we produce tea now, and the product we get in black tea, for example, or in green coffee beans, or in raw macadamia kernels, or in whole avocado fruit has stayed the same over the years. What makes the difference is how the value-adding guys then process this into the produce that the consumers want. And so our role is to listen to their requests and give them what they want in terms of bulk produce, so that they can then blend into what the consumers want with that preference that you're talking to.
Okay. And last year you launched your inaugural sustainability report.
Yeah.
Now, talking about this, what are some of the environmentally friendly practices that you're putting in place time to time, the better part of last year up to now? And are these strategies only meant to please the investors? Because majority of the firms...
We don't do it for investors.
Yeah.
We do not do that for investors. Okay. It's the wrong reason to get involved in anything sustainable. By definition, sustainability refers to businesses doing their businesses responsibly.
Okay.
The fact that investors get impressed by that is a side effect. That's not the reason. And it's not about just protecting the environment. So we have to be very, very clear here. Okay. We do this for several reasons. One, we want to be a good corporate citizen. And there are 4 buckets where we focus on. One is the respect for human rights and making sure that everybody working in our value chain is working within the norms of the global human rights and norms as laid down by the United Nations. Number 2 is good labor practice, so that we are employing people with good labor conditions and paying them well, living wages, so that enough for them to live on. Number 3 is the issue you're talking about, which is protecting the environment and making sure that, especially for us who are an agricultural business, our business is about tilling land to grow crops, to produce material that then gets packed into product for you and I to consume. If we do not protect that land, we have no business, and so we wouldn't be here 72 years later if we were not protecting this land with good environmental practices. And so the third one, which is this environmental protection, is very, very critical for us. Under there is what we do with forestry management, what we do with climate control, and what we do with the responsible use of energy, for example. So all those come under that bucket. Then lastly is to do our business in a corrupt-free environment, to drive the notion of anti-corruption, because that's one of the biggest derailers of business globally. And so when you do these things, you're doing them so that Sasini can be here another 72 years times 4. So our great-great-grandchildren can find it. If we do not do business responsibly, we won't have a future. And so the side effects of doing it responsibly is that, of course, the employees gain, of course, the business gains in its profit, and of course, shareholders get returns that are better. But shareholders is not the reason you do sustainability. And so if you're thinking that companies are doing this to please the shareholders, that's the wrong thought. There may be companies out there that are doing that. Sasini is not one of them. We are doing this for the sustainability, and that's the exact word, of the business, so that it stays relevant for centuries to come.
Okay. And do you, as Sasini, advocate for carbon trade?
There is still a lot to be understood under carbon trade. We advocate for responsible management of businesses while respecting the environment, okay, and leaving the environment better. If you think about our business being agricultural, our business is about ground cover. So the tea is a bush, the coffee is a bush, the macadamia is a tree, and the avocado is a tree. Plus we have plant forests in all our plantations with in excess of 2 million trees, which form forests in these plantations that we grow our crops on. The role these crops play in the absorption of CO2 as a mitigation to greenhouse gas effect on nature is huge. Okay. And so of course we subscribe to that, and of course we want to do more, and we believe that the contribution we are giving the environment in terms of absorption of CO2 is enormous, okay, not just at Sasini, but as agricultural businesses. And we are going to continue to do that. But I think the carbon trade is a different story. Again, we are not doing this to sell carbon credits. Okay. If we have enough credits that we can sell and get some money, well, why not? But the reason you grow trees is not to generate CO2 so that you can, carbon credits so that you can go sell them in the market. And in fact, that whole notion is still not yet understood well. The government is trying to put regulation in place to regulate the carbon trading aspect of business. And of course, I think when that comes in, a lot of Kenyan companies are going to benefit. And if we are found in our carbon footprint to be positive and we need to sell to offset and help other people offset their carbon emissions, we will do that. But that's not the reason that we do the business responsibly.
Okay. Yeah.